What is up, my beautiful darlings? This is DJ here, and I really want to apologize for this video coming out so late. It's been weird. Mostly I've been lazy. I don't know how to do video editing, so this has been new for me, but it's finally here. It's probably not the best well put together as it could be, but I just wanted to get something out for everyone. So here you go. I hope you enjoy. Setting my eyeshadow, and before my eyeshadow, well, not my eyeshadow, I finished setting my eyelids with my powder, and I'm going to use the powder again, so I'll show folks what it is when I actually put on the rest of my face. Before I start with my eyeshadow, I always like to put my primer on my face because I like to have some time for it to settle into my skin and everything. And I use two different kinds of primers because I have combination skin. So the first one that I use, I actually need more of because it's dead empty, is the No Problem primer. It's by Touch and Soul. This one I really like. I use it for my cheeks because I do have larger pores on my cheeks. So this general area is where I will put that at. And the rest of my face, especially my nose, and I haven't put this on yet, is I will use the Milk Hydro Primer as kind of like my main primer. I really love it because I don't get as much, I don't get as much creasing or my makeup breaking apart as much as I do other things. I do like to put a lot around my nose because I do get my nose gets very oily. So throughout the day, and even because I wear glasses, my nose will start to have makeup break apart, and that's very annoying. But yeah, I just put a pump or two on my fingers and just rub that into my skin. I also like to drag some down to my neck because I also put, my foundation on my neck because bitches, you gotta blend your makeup like you are blending away all of your problems, and that is that. So I am actually going to be matching my makeup with an outfit that I got. I just got new clothes. I buy a lot of new clothes and it's terrible, but I have a problem. So before we get into the mental health talk, because I do have a topic, I am going to be using the Nomad palette by Juvia's Place. This is one of my favorites. And I'm also going to be using this palette that is all rubbed off. This is the Honeybee palette from ColourPop. And you'll see at the end I have this dress that has these lovely sunflowers on it. So that is what I'm going to be wearing today. So I thought, okay, let's try to go with browns and yellows as my main color palette for the day. Here's all my brushes. Got so many brushes. And the problem with having so many brushes is I can never actually find the brush that I need. This one. So I figure this is probably going to be coming out on September 5th. I'm going to try to learn how to do some editing. And I thought, what a great way. This all kind of happened at such a good time because this upcoming Friday is going to be the 1 year of me uprooting my whole life from California in a week and a half and moving halfway across the country to live in Iowa. And something that I get asked very, very, very frequently, more often than not, is, Deka, why did you move to Iowa? What's in Iowa? And to which I respond, there's nothing in Iowa. But there's a very specific reason I chose to move to Iowa, I guess. And that came with after my job search also. But to really get the full scope of my decision-making process when it came to moving halfway across the country, we're going to have to go back and visit to the good old year of 2017, which was simultaneously the best and worst year of my life. Before I start talking in that, I'm gonna go in this palette. This one doesn't have names for it, for the colors, like some of their other ones do. But we're gonna use this like light brownish color, kind of as our transition shade in the crease area. Again, I apologize for the sound of dogs playing with things. And we're just gonna like buff that into the crease. So like I was saying, in 2017, that was, again, the best and worst year of my life. Best year because that was when I decided I wanted to go to grad school. I applied to one school, which was Cal State Fullerton. That was a school I knew that I wanted to go to. I heard good things about the program. And I kind of figured, why waste my money on applying to other programs when I know that this is the one I want to go to? So I applied to one school and I got accepted. Mystery to me, I don't know. But that was kind of the start of, the highlight of that year was applying for that program, getting the interview for it, and then ultimately being accepted. So in my personal, academic life, there was a lot of good things happening. On the other hand, my family life was very chaotic. In 2016, so August, my grandmother had been diagnosed with leukemia. And she lived in the Bay Area, so Northern California. I lived in Southern California. And in May 2017 was the last time I physically saw her and got to speak with her because I had gone up to visit. And so the highlight of my year was getting into grad school. It was getting into grad school. I had finally gotten my diagnosis for mental health. And so for those, I had major depression, a panic attack disorder, and generalized anxiety. So for going through most of my life dealing with those mental health struggles, I finally was diagnosed with those three criterias and started medication right before I started grad school. The other highlight of that year was that I finally got top surgery. So all of these really positive things with getting into grad school, I'm having top surgery, I'm getting my mental health together. So I was thinking, maybe this is the year that I finally get my shit together and things are going to be fan-fucking-tastic. And that ended up not being the case because a little over a week after I had gotten top surgery, my grandma passed away. I think, if I remember correctly, they had to put her in a medically induced coma because she was home and then her health started getting bad again. And I think she had gotten a blood infection. And this also is the reason why I have a weird relationship with Comic-Con, because at the time the day that she passed away was day 2 of Comic-Con, and it was my first year going. No. Yes? I think that was my first year going to Comic-Con. It might not have been. I don't remember. And I remember the exact moment of how I was feeling when I found out she passed away. And I was with my partner at the time. We were on the trolley going back to her place. And I texted my mom because I hadn't heard from her all day. And I was like, hey mom, how's Nana doing in the hospital? And she said, I'm still at work. I'm about to head to the hospital now and go, check on her, see how she's doing. And that was around 8:30, I want to say. 8:30 p.m. is when I had messaged my mom and asked, how's Nana doing? And about an hour, maybe less than an hour later, I'm on the trolley and my sister calls me. I have 2 sisters, and one of my sisters called me and she says, and she says she's gone. And so I'm listening, I feel really bad because one of my younger sisters, she's the oldest twin. She was alone in the hospital when my grandma had passed away. And so it was very hard for me to know that within that like half hour to an hour time frame, like my grandma went from being alive in the hospital, like she was off of the things that were keeping her alive, to like less than an hour later she had passed away. So for me that was very surreal. I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandma and I had a very, like I think most of my siblings did, we all had very, special relationships with my grandma. Before I go on, I'm switching colors. I'm going into this dark brown color right here in the middle, to help deepen up the crease. So that's kind of how 2017 started getting really, really shitty. So grandma passed away, I want to say it was like a week after I had top surgery. And then 2 weeks after she had passed away is when I started my graduate assistantship for my master's program. And then a week after starting that was my grandma's service. And then directly after starting that is when I started grad school. So those like first 2-ish months of like my grandma passing away and me starting school left me very, very little time to feel like I could grieve, because I was still recovering from this major surgery. My grandmother passed away. I was entering this new like academic chapter in my life. And it was really hard for me to know that I was entering this period in my life where I really wanted my grandma to be there and she wasn't able to. And I think what hurt the most about all of that is my grandma also never got the opportunity to make it to any of my graduations. So like she didn't get to go to my high school graduation. I was really mad at her for that for a very long time. And she didn't get to go to my my undergraduate graduation, I think because at that time my grandpa had a heart attack or he had surgery or something, so he didn't have a lot of time to, like he couldn't really travel. And my grandma basically took care of him, so that made a lot of sense. So yeah, there was a lot of like things going on at that time with like, I'm having all of these positive things happening, but I also just lost the most important person in my life. Like my grandma is the biggest reason why I kept, surviving in life. Like I still even, I didn't know how I was going to continue living without her in my life, because she was such a prominent, figure. And so much of who I am as a person is because of her. So yeah, so that happened. I also got Gimli around that time. Like I got to pick him up and take him home the day of my grandma's funeral service. So Gimli also has a special place in my heart because he's helped me get through a lot of, this stuff. So back to kind of some of that grief process. After my grandma passed away, and I had like, I mentioned I had just started getting on, medication. The year before I was diagnosed with diabetic, and I was also just kind of finally getting my mental health together, getting my general health together. And after my grandma passed away, I just I stopped caring. I didn't care if I lived or died. I didn't care about my mental health. I didn't care about my general health. I didn't really care about grad school. I didn't really feel supported in my graduate assistantship either, especially, dealing with my grief. So there was a lot in that time with being in my first semester of grad school where I was feeling, maybe I'm not cut out for this kind of job, without really recognizing that, I'm going through a really, really difficult time right now, losing one of my parents, basically. My grandmother was my mother figure, more so in a lot of ways than my actual mom. Sorry, Mom, I love you, but grandma was very special. She was a very, very special person. So I managed to get through, my first semester of grad school. The GA-ship didn't, like the graduate assistantship didn't work out into next semester. That's some other, I don't really want to get into, like I'm over that for the most part, so I don't really want to talk about it. And so what ended up happening also in that year is I go home in December. I have about a month off of school for winter break. And after my grandma's service in August, my grandpa's health started going to shit. You know, he and my grandma would have been married for 50 years had she not passed away. They would have celebrated their 50th in November. And, you know, my grandpa ended up having to be put into a home because he, like, his health just wasn't, you know, there anymore. And so talk about, you know, turtle dove syndrome, where grandma passed away, and then as soon as the service is over, grandpa's health starts going to crap. And around Christmas time, like the end of December, you know, I'm staying with my mom at home, and my mom tells me, you know, the nursing home Papa is in is basically kicking him out because his health insurance was running out and they couldn't afford to keep him in the home. So they basically were like, sorry, you gotta leave. Just like yeet this old man who is grieving the death of his wife out of this nursing home. And so my grandpa comes home December 29th. So it's right after Christmas. And I feel it in my heart when my mom brings him back home. And I was with my friend Kat. You know, she had been staying with me too because she, you know, fully understood, you know, my relationship with my grandparents. And she also had lost her dad, I think either the year before or within that same time frame. So we were very much each other's support system, trying to like deal with our grief. And when my grandpa gets home, like there's something in my mind that's telling me that he's not going to be here, you know, very much longer. And I think Kat had to go to work. So I spent the day my grandpa got home, spent the entire day with him. We really just watched TV. We chatted. I made him food. I put him to bed. And I put him to bed, I want to say around 7 p.m., 7:30. And, you know, we got him undressed, put him inside of his pajamas. I told him goodnight. And the last thing he said to me was, thank you, baby. Which, you know, he does that a lot. And the next day, December 30th, Kat had come back. She stayed the night. And I think she had to leave earlier in the morning, too, to, you know, go back to work. And around 8 o'clock, my mom comes to the house. She asks me if Papa's awake yet, and I say no, which is like odd for him because he is an early riser very much. So she leaves again and comes back around 11 o'clock. And she asked again, you know, is Papa awake yet? And I said, no, he hasn't been out of bed yet, which is very odd for him. So she goes to the back room, and like not like 30 seconds later, I just hear screaming. I hear screaming and crying and wailing, and, you know, I still have dreams about like the sound of my mom crying, finding my grandpa in his bed, you know, dead, basically. So I run to the back room and, you know, see, you know, my mom crying over my grandpa, and, you know, he's not with us anymore. And it's very like, I don't think I had seen a dead body that close up, at least not a fresh, like, dead body. It's weird saying that too. And that's kind of how the end of my 2017 ended, was, you know, losing both of my grandparents, losing my parents, you know, the people that raised me, who taught me how to be the person that I am today, the people who supported me and told me to continue pursuing my education, and all of like that wonderful stuff. My grandma told me, and my grandpa also told me frequently about how proud they were of me, that, you know, I was getting my education. I was doing, you know, well in life, considering that I was a poor brown kid from the ghetto, you know. So a lot of my educational pursuits have also been because, I want to continue making my grandparents proud, even though they're not physically on the earth yet or anymore. So that's kind of how that happened. And breezing really quickly through 2018. So I leave my graduate assistantship. I start someplace new that I think I feel a lot more supported in. And then in 2018, my stepmom Anita loses her mom and her dad within the same month time frame as I had. And I wasn't as close to them, but that was also a second set of grandparents that I had lost in less than a year. And then my paternal grandfather had also been diagnosed with terminal cancer. So the 2017-2018 year was no good for my grandparents whatsoever. Definitely the hardest 2 years of my life. Going through grad school with everything that I was going through, would not recommend. So I don't know what I'm gonna do for the lids quite. Actually, I do. So basically, before I go into all of this, I'm gonna go into this middle shade here. Focus. There we go. This color right here, I'm gonna use that on the lids. Actually, no, I'm not. Changing my mind. We're gonna go into this Honeybee palette, and we're going to use this shade right here. There we go. It's called Dandy. And that's going to go directly on our lids. And I just like to put it on with my fingers instead of messing up the brush. So anywho, all of the grandparent stuff really is kind of what influenced me to leave California. I wasn't looking necessarily to move to Iowa in particular. I was just kind of I need to get out of California. Because really, being in the, I didn't expect myself to live past the age of 24, and I'm 27 now. And then losing my grandparents on top of that is kind of oh shit, I didn't plan my life this far anyway. And now I'm living this far and I don't have my biggest support system. What the hell am I going to do? And so when it came, towards me graduating from my master's program, I also was influenced a lot by my friend Ashley, who was one of my cohort mates. And she really wanted to go to, work outside of California. So that was an additional influence. And so I kind of thought, I just need to get out of California. California made me sad. I didn't really feel like there was anything that was keeping me there anymore. It wasn't a pleasant place to be for me anymore. And so I ended up, applying to a bunch of jobs outside of California, and those took me to New York, Pennsylvania, Missouri, Iowa, Washington, Oregon. No, not Oregon. Potentially. Almost Georgia, but I got a job offer before I ended up going to Georgia. So yeah, that was kind of my biggest reason for moving out of California. Because people say why would you move out of California if it's so great? California is not that fantastic. Coming from a Californian, and many Californians will tell you the same thing. Stop coming to California. Anyway. So specifically on why Iowa, and of all things, why freaking Grinnell, Iowa. Middle of nowhere, very small town, very different. I grew up in the Bay Area. I could get to San Francisco in 20 or 30 minutes on BART. When I was in school, I lived in Orange County, I lived in the Inland Empire. I could get to LA in an hour if I wanted to, depending on traffic. So from going to these really big cities to I'm in a small farming community, and people sometimes look at me and they're like, Deka, why the hell did you choose to move out of the, safety and luxury of California to freaking Iowa? So I had, around the time that I was moving here, I think I had 3 job offers at that time, or roughly 3. I had gotten the offer from, I got an offer from the University of Vermont. I'd considered working there because my friend Ashley and Kevin both had jobs there, so I would have known people. I was also getting an offer from Western Washington University, and then I had inquired about Grinnell because that had been my like number one choice for a job. So ultimately, when it came to me moving to the Midwest, it was mostly like I felt the most connected and the most like felt like I would get the most support from the folks that I met at Grinnell College. And almost a year later, that still holds true. You know, I've got like a fucking wonderful supervisor. I've got a wonderful team, and I work with really great people. And I feel very fortunate because I know there's a lot of folks who, you know, you might not have good supervisors or a good team, and it can be really toxic. And so when I went through my interview and was talking with Brenda, who's now my supervisor, and then talking with Brenda and getting to know her, you know, she was very real. She was very like, you know, what you see is what you get. I'm not going to be fake and pretend to be, you know, who I'm not and all of that. And that's very much my values. I don't try or pretend to be someone that I am not, because that does not benefit me in any way. And like, honestly, like, why do that? So that was something that I vibed with, was knowing that like she was going to be her authentic self, and that encouraged me to also, you know, feel like I can be who I am without judgment. And I also was very open about like losing my grandparents and how that has affected me, you know, mentally. And so even though she didn't, you know me when I was going through that grieving process, I still have had such a high level of support from my team when it comes to like grieving and wanting to visit family and like the transition here. And I feel overall, I feel very valued. And that's not something I could say I felt in my first graduate assistantship. So, okay, before I get back to it, I'm going to buff out my crease a little bit and try to blend. I took some of that same dark brown and put it here and in the inner corner, like inner and outer corners, to kind of create like a halo effect. It's not a true halo because I'm not trying to like do a cut crease thing. I didn't really want to do that. So I'm gonna just take this same like transition shade I used in the beginning to blend out some of the like harsher colors of the dark brown. Anyway, so I was really influenced to come to Grinnell solely because of the people that I'd be working with. I loved Washington, specifically the campus in the town that I was in, definitely would have been an ideal location. I went on a really long hike. I went to a park that had waterfalls in it. Like, I felt very connected to nature there. But I didn't feel the same level of connection with the people on that campus that I felt at Grinnell. And ultimately, that is why I made the decision that I did, because I wanted to know that I was working with people that I was going to be comfortable with. And I knew that I wanted to work with people who I knew would challenge me. And I've definitely gotten a lot of that from being in Grinnell. So that's kind of like, in short, why I chose Grinnell. It came down to the team that I was working with, the people I'd be working with. And I don't regret my decision one bit. It's been one of the best decisions that I've made. And I think that I have come a long way. Okay, so we're going to take a break from the eyes. I finished my eyes last with like liner and then whatever else I have to do. So we're going to go into our face products. And I am absolutely in love with these things. Are also wiped off. Okay, So I am a big fan of Juvia's Face products. They have been like my favorite eyeshadow brands, and then when they started coming out with face products, I was like, I gotta have them. So they come in these cute little pink tubes. I prefer the stick foundation to their cream or their liquid foundation. When I tried this one, I realized that this one isn't as heavy as their cream foundation is. So I definitely have learned to have a preference for these ones. So these ones are a little bit more light. As you can see, this tube is basically empty, so I'm scraping out the like last little bits with this brush. I actually kind of really like this brush for putting on this foundation too. So this is pretty accurately like my skin color, so I'm just gonna take some of that product and just put it on the face. There's not a whole lot to explain with foundation, I don't think. And I'm really bad at figuring out foundation colors or concealer colors online. I got these ones from Ulta back when I was in California, and did some testing there. And so then I buy them online after. But they have a very large range of colors and undertone selections. I also have a winter shade, which is also pretty accurate. Like for me, I found when I buy foundations, like they look good in the stores, and I don't know if it's because of the lighting, but when I do it in my own place, they always look a little bit off. So this one I like because it is pretty true to my natural, skin color. So I'm taking this fun little brush here. We're just gonna buff this into the skin. And yeah. And I also, I try not to put a whole lot of product on my nose. I'll put a little bit to help. But like I said, my nose gets really oily. So I like to kind of rub in and blend in all of the foundation I have on my face, and then use remaining product to bring to my nose. That way my nose has the least amount of product, but there's still coverage. And I'll go in after like buffing this in with a beauty blender just to smooth everything out. I really like this brush for getting around my eyebrows. Sometimes if I'm feeling it, I'll do the same thing that I do under my brow, like cutting it to make it a little bit more sharper. I will do the same thing with the top, but with my foundation. And sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. It really depends. But this brush is really good for kind of getting close to there without messing it all up. And then this is still kind of damp from the last time I used it. I got this big beauty blender. This is one of my favorites. It's really soft. And I'll just go in and just kind of make my foundation look a little bit more smooth. And you can't see it here, but I didn't put any product there, so I have a spot missing. So we're just going to take some more of that, put that right there. There you go. Beautiful. And once again, blend it away like you were blending away all of your problems. Yeah, I missed a lot. This is a new spot for me where I do my makeup too. I'm in my dining room. I usually do my makeup in my bedroom because I have a big mirror. That looks better. Perfect. And then again, taking my beauty blender and just smoothing out that application. Lovely. Maybe I should invest in a good camera so I can have some quality lighting. Alrighty. So after foundation, it's pretty straightforward. It's the whole foundation, concealer, contouring. I didn't say the shade that I was using. That's what I needed to do. So the shade is called Jackmail. I bought another one recently because I ran out, but I've been using the like very scraps of it before I dip into this one. And I'm gonna go back in also with Juvia's Place. Juvia's Place concealer. This is the shade 16. It's from their Magic Concealer line, and I don't really feel like I want to do a whole bunch of. Oh no, that shouldn't have fallen out. Technical difficulties. Got him. Aw, he broke a little bit. That's fine. I've got glue. I'll fix it. I also don't have a proper chair, so I'm sitting on a container that has liquids in it. Anywho, so I'm taking my Juvia's Place concealer in shade number 16, and I'm going to only put this really in the corner of my eye, like right here in the inner corners. Bloop. I also put a little bit on my forehead, some on my chin, give yourself a little mustache, and then also just a tiny bit on the bridge of my nose and on the tip of my nose. Those are the main areas that I conceal at, and where I get the most lighting. So just kind of highlighting those high points of the face. And then going back in with this pointier end of my beauty blender. And we're just gonna blend all of that in. I know this seems like really boring. And honestly, don't get upset if you mess up. This is the learning process. I've only started wearing foundation like 3 years ago, maybe. So this has been a whole learning process for me of like, how the hell do people even use like concealer? I'm going back in with this blending, like slightly angled blending brush. I use this one for buffing out the concealer on my eyes, and I'm just gonna go ahead and do the same thing with under my eyes, just so I can get that product as close and as blended out as possible. And then I blend a little bit on the sides of my nose. I feel like that helps when I go into contour. And I just have more recently than not, gotten a new foundation stick that I started using for contouring, and it has been my favorite thing to start using. So I also want to mention a thing about when you're doing concealer. What I do, and this is just my personal preference, is I tend to get concealers that are maybe 2 or 3 shades lighter than my foundation shade, because I have really terrible dark circles under my eyes. They're not my favorite. And so I like to have a lighter color concealer, because I feel like that helps, one, brighten up the face, and also makes it look, like my eyes aren't sunken in like a dead pirate skeleton. Why did that work so nicely? I've never blended my nose with this brush. And then we're just gonna do some circles, scribbly stuff, and blend and buff that into. So I really like this for this. I'm learning some new things about like what brushes I like to use for what. I'm gonna go back in with my beauty blender, just kind of try to get some of those harsher edges not where they are. right, we're gonna jump into contouring now, and this has become like one of my new favorite things, specifically with the product that I have. So again, going in with Juvia's Place. If Juvia's Place is watching this, and if y'all want to tag them in something, they should sponsor me, okay? Because I own literally all of their makeup palettes, aside from their, like, they have 4 new mini palettes. I don't have that. And they have one palette that they did a collaboration with. I wasn't a big fan of the colors, so I just didn't buy it. Other than that, I have all of their eyeshadow palettes. I have their concealers. I have their foundations. I have their highlighters. I have their setting powders. Sponsor me. Jesus, put me on your PR list, please. So I'm going to go ahead. This is the shade that I'm using to contour. It's Namibia. I can't pronounce words. And so I'm just going to go in right here where my cheekbones are. And I've got amazing cheekbones, so I like to highlight them. So I'll do like just one line. I'll also just kind of do something like that. I don't know. You can just watch what I'm doing and then see if that works for you. And then nose contouring for me has been really hard because, like I mentioned, I have product that breaks up. But I found that using the foundation stick has made it easier to like blend out the contour on my nose, and there's not a whole lot of like, you know, breaking of the product. So you can use a variety of brushes for this. I have a couple. What are you? You are e.l.f. This is e.l.f.'s contouring brush. I use this with my powder because I set my contour. Actually, I might use this today. We'll see. And then I also have this other e.l.f. brush. This is usually what I use my foundation for, but I feel like it helps blend out some of the contour as well. So we're going to go ahead and I just kind of dab my product first so that I can blend in those lines. And then I do like circular motions of buffing in that product. Beautiful. So contouring has been like a fun thing for me. And what I like about using the foundation sticks for this is that when I use just my powder, I feel like it makes my skin look like it's too dark. It ends up being very splotchy and doesn't blend as well as I would like it to. So this one I like because it blends in a little bit easier with the foundation. I feel like that is because they're the same products, just different colors. So that's what I do there. I blend up until like a little bit up to my temple. And I don't have a super large forehead, I don't think. So if you look, or at least like when I look at my forehead, I can tell like where the like angles are in my face, and that's usually where I put my contour on my forehead. I don't typically like to put and blend like the middle of it because I feel like that makes my forehead too small. So I just do right here in the sides, like where the kind of like where the temples are. I might bring a little bit up, just like a tiny bit to the hairline, just to help break that up a little bit. See, I'm a whole new person. And then I use this tapered brush. I've had this brush for so many years. I need new brushes. This is the one that I like to use for blending out the contour on my nose. And I usually will go back in with that angled or that straight brush that I showed from e.l.f. just to help blend it out a little bit more. I feel like that's what makeup is a lot of the time. It's just really figuring out like where the angles of your face are and how to like contour like what looks well for your face, I guess. Oh, that looks nice. This face is coming together really nicely. I should hurry up because I have to go pick up my boyfriend soon. So that is not that's not all that I do for my face. In terms of product, that is what product looks like. So for kind of like my final couple steps, I like to bake my face, you know, which makes sense because I'm a Taurus and Taurus is like food. I also like to bake. So I have, this is open, I need to be careful. I spilled it somewhere. What shade are you? Okay, so this is, again, more Juvia's Place. Most of my products are Juvia's Place products. They've been like the best for me to work with and that have worked the best for my face. So this is the shade Kalahari. So if you are like a medium tan, this is what I use. I found like translucent powders or super light powders make my face look really pasty, and I don't like that. So I'm really happy that I found this, and it's a little bit closer to like more true to what like the highlighted color should look like for my face. So I take I have this red beauty blender. This is from Morphe. I like it because it has like a flat it's angled, and that really helps for pushing product in here. Some people wet their beauty blenders. That helps the product kind of grab onto your things more. I did not wish to wet this currently, mostly because I'm lazy. That's a hair. It's not my hair. Whose hair is this? Is that cat hair? That's cat hair. So I basically set and bake the areas that I put my concealer in. So it's going to be directly underneath the eyes. I also do the sides of the nose, the sides and the center of the nose. Very lightly though, I don't like to put a whole lot of product on my nose. Again, because I get the like the breakage. I'll also do my forehead right underneath here. And then I'll do chins, and then right underneath where my contour is. This I feel really helps sharpen up that contour and really brings out the jawline. So those are the two areas that I do that, or more than two areas. Okay, so we're gonna let that sit while I finish the rest of my eyes. Like I mentioned, I finish my eyes last, and that's because I tend to get fallout. Sometimes I get fallout. So when that happens, I like to, did I want to do this? The shirt's wet. So I forgot how to do words, which happens pretty frequently. So I'm gonna go back. I've been using this mirror. What I've really enjoyed doing recently, and this is like new for me, is I haven't been doing like full like wings when I do eyeliner. And for this eyeliner, using e.l.f. e.l.f. is my favorite like drugstore product. It's cheap and it's pretty good quality. Like it can be a hit or a miss. I really like the brushes. I like their eyeliners. Their primers are pretty good. And so most people don't do this because it can cause wrinkles. I do not care. And I'm just gonna line right towards like this outer corner of my eyes. And that's where I'm gonna stop my liner. And the fact that I'm doing this not with like a close-up mirror and on a camera on my laptop is a miracle, because I also have glasses and can't see. No more makeup talk. We were talking about mental health stuff. Oh, so I feel like kind of I feel like I kind of answered that question of why I moved to Iowa. It was really just like a lot of emotional trauma, having lost my grandparents, and really feeling like I didn't have a connection to, the state anymore. I actually went there recently for my dad's birthday, and California, and being in California makes me very sad. So I think I still have a lot of healing to do, in terms of like finding myself, rediscovery, all of that fun stuff. And it's been, again, like one of the best decisions I think I've made in my life. I've never lived outside of California. Like, I was born and raised in the Bay Area, moved to Riverside when I was 18 for college, and basically had been in Southern California since then. So going like 20 something years of my life living in California and being a California kid to moving to the Midwest, like you'd think that I would be anxious to go back, but I'm really not. And I really don't have a strong desire to go back either, like at least not in this moment of my life. And I guess my year in review, if I were to like, there's been a lot of good things that have happened since I moved here. I think one of the unfortunate things that is also a good thing is that my partner of the last 5 years and I had broken up, and that was something that was really hard for me, because we've been together for so long and they were with me through some of those tough moments in my life. But ultimately, I think it was like a wonderful decision. I don't regret our relationship. I don't regret the time that I spent with them and the amount of growth that I went through with them. I think that's definitely helped me be successful here, especially, living in a place where I didn't really know people. That's kind of, how that is. So I think for the first time in my life, I feel like I have a solid support system. Like, I have a team that I work with who constantly tell me how much they appreciate me and value me. I've got friends both in Iowa and outside of Iowa who check in on me pretty frequently. Like, my best friends of damn near 15 years, we talk pretty frequently. We have an Instagram chat, and I tell them everything that's happening here, and I have that support. And I also have a good chunk of family support. My family back in Southern California, I know they miss me. I love y'all. But they're also really happy that I am, I'm here. I'm being successful. I am doing what I gotta do. And that is, those are all good things. One second. I forgot what I was going to do. So I did my eyeliner. I'm going to just go ahead and brush off this. I don't bake for a super long time. So I'm just going to buff the rest of this product off of my face. And you could see here and here how that kind of sharpened up this line that I personally like. And I also just appreciate not getting a whole bunch of creasing on my face throughout the day. Yeah, I think I might get another camera because I thought it might help see what my skin actually looks like. I'm gonna bring this up closer. I dropped everything. So I don't know if you could see it on my nose, but I'm already getting some breakage. That happens when I blend out too, because my nose is really oily. If anyone has any tips or tricks to help stop or prevent makeup on your nose from breaking apart, I would appreciate it because I have yet to figure out something that works for me. Um, Anywho, so I'm gonna go into back into my eyes and smoke out my bottom lash. That's something I'm still learning how to do properly, so bear with me. It is a learning process. And so I have found that like pulling my lid down like this has helped me get my product where I want it to. And I just get like one of these small like tight like blending brushes. This is also from Morphe. I basically bought a Morphe brush set and that's been my life, but I do need new brushes. And so I just take that and I blend it onto my lower lash line. And I'm using the same first shade that I used on my eyes, that light brown like transition shade. I'm using that on the lower lash line as well. And that's going to be the first color that I use to kind of help smoke out the bottom lash. I'd really like to be able to see what I'm doing with my makeup without it being so close, but the struggles of wearing glasses, very real. Ow. You might poke yourself in the eye. That happens. You get used to it. At least, like, if you're me, you'll poke yourself in the eye. Okay, and I'm going to move from that, like, bigger fluffy brush that I was using. If I could find my slightly smaller one. This isn't the one I want to use. This isn't the one that I want to use, but it's close enough. It's a little bit more tapered at the top. But I'm going to take this, and I'm going to go into that second shade that I did on my eyes, the darker brown. And just going to line right at the top, kind of like you're putting on eyeliner. No, that's not working the way that I want it to. I lied. Are you it? No, you're not it. That's fine. Okay. So we're going to take the same brush that we were using before, and I'm only going to put this product at like the tail end of my bottom lash line, and I'll bring it maybe to like right in the middle for that darker color, and just blend it out, and then do the same thing on the other side. And I feel like this helps to add a little bit more dimension to the face. Okay, so I'm basically done with like the whole makeup look. I'm gonna take this last shade, Sunburst, right here, this top middle of the Honeybee palette. I'm gonna take a little bit onto this brush, same one that I used to line my lower lash lines, and I'm gonna put that just right here in the inner corner. Sometimes people don't know why you put product in the inner corner, and if you're like me and frequently look sleep deprived, it'll help make you look a little bit more awake. And I really like that it has a bit of a greenish tint to it, and I really enjoy that. It's like another, kind of like another color with less effort. Okay. So what has really happened in my life since separating from Alex? We are currently not on speaking terms. That's a whole nother conversation, but like whatever. But I think some of the best things that have happened is like really building up, my support system and people that I know. I have currently the most amazing boyfriend. I met him maybe like 3 weeks after moving. Like he was the second person that I met who was someone I didn't work with. And it was funny because I didn't really expect much. I kind of was like, I enjoy your company. Like you seem like a cool person. And, a couple months later, here we are officially dating. So Ty has been like one of the highlights of me moving here. Like, he's such a fantastic human. And before people ask what I'm doing, I'm taking more Juvia's Place products. Again, they should sponsor me. Just assume everything that I use is from Juvia's Place unless I state otherwise. This is the Saharan Blush Palette Volume 1. And I'm using, what shade are you? I'm using this dark shade Abby and very lightly going in with this contouring brush and just taking that and dabbing it into here and blending that out. And that's because I like to set anything that I use cream with, I like to set it with powder so it doesn't move. And I know I mentioned like powders sometimes for me like look too broken up, they look kind of weird. And this one I feel works pretty well for like helping me create the effect that I need to create. So yeah, I mean, otherwise, moving to Iowa has been like, I get homesick. I definitely miss like my family. I wish that I could see like my friends from the Bay Area more often, because when I was living in Southern California, I really only saw them when I was there for like vacations or for breaks. I did see two of my really close friends. They came for my graduation, and so I saw them last, it's been a year already. It has been a year since I've seen my friends, and that is not something that I like, but also coronavirus ruined my plans to go visit. Any hoodle. All right, so I'm gonna go in again with this brush. I take product just at like this very end so that I can redefine my nose contour. That was too much product, that's fine, I will blend that out. I apologize for the silence. Maybe I'll put music over this. Okay, I'm gonna say that I am done when it comes to like the contour, the face stuff, and I'm gonna just finish this up with my blush and my lipstick and some highlight. I'm gonna go in, this is currently one of my favorite shades, it's called Toby. It's like a nice orange color. And I didn't like it when I first put that on, and I've learned to really enjoy it with how I've been doing my makeup recently. There's something on my eye. So I take a little bit of that. This brush has no name. I think I got this from a friend, but it's a nice like fluffy angled brush. So I take a little bit of product, and instead of like swishing it on, I smile and then dab my my blush on my face, because I don't want to put too much on at one point. So I do like small little dabs and then blend out as needed. And same thing on the other side. So yeah, so I tap my product in like the apple of my cheek and then blend it out towards the ends, because I don't want to have a whole bunch of blush product like way up here. That's not necessary. And I thought that this was fun, but I really like the whole blush on the nose look. So I'm gonna take a little bit more of that product and then just like pat that into my nose. And this one I'll do a little like swirly action. Boop. So there's that. I'm gonna take those, put those away. Last but not least, we're going to go in with our highlight. And this is currently one of my favorite highlighters. Again, by Juvia's Place. Sponsor me, please. Put me on your PR list. This is the Heroin Glow 2. No, the Heroin Glow 1. So it comes in like this big container. It's not really that much product. It's one of the pressed ones, so it looks like this. I also have some of their Juvia's Place's loose highlights, which I also really enjoy. This one is just currently my favorite to be using. And I have this nice tapered highlighting brush. Something tickling my nose. So I just take one side of it, do a couple, just swish, swish, tap off any excess, and then that goes right here on my cheeks. I blend it up this, like up towards like the outer end of my eye. And we all know that you gotta shine like the goddess and gods and goddesses that we know that we are. And this is another one that I kind of just tap the product in and then blend as needed. Ooh, we are glowing. Yes. I'm noticing this isn't blended as much as I want it to, so I'm going back in with this brush and just kind of buffing that out a little bit more. Better. It's good. And so the thing with highlight is I put my highlight in the same places that I put my concealer. I'm not going to put it underneath my eyes, but you know, the forehead where I put my concealer, I'll put highlight there, do a little bit on the chin, like all of those areas where the sun is going to hit your face. And then instead of using a brush, I'll take a little bit of the highlight on my finger, just like that. I have really liked taking my highlight and just putting it on like the top end of my nose. So I'll just put it like right here, and I feel like that makes, like, it gives the illusion that my nose is longer than it is. And I don't know, I think that is pretty cool. And then I'm gonna take that same one again on my finger, and then that small little area that I put a little bit of concealer on, that is also where we're gonna put some of this highlight. Voila. All right, and that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go put on my outfit, put on like my lips, anything that I forgot, and we'll be right back. Hello, my beautiful darlings. I just got finished getting ready. So here is complete face look, hair, all of that. Stepping back, I just got recently in the mail, by recently I mean yesterday, I got this really cute dress. So this is what I'm wearing today. And that is all. Ooh, my makeup does look on point. I am a beautiful goddess. You're welcome for blessing your page with my beautiful face, with my lovely smile. And thanks for joining me today. Please stay tuned. More of these are definitely going to be happening. I don't know a time frame yet, but if y'all want to see specific looks, you want to see me use this particular palette, if you have questions, shoot them to me, and we're going to see where this takes us. So thanks for joining on this adventure with me. Deuces.